Hey everybody, welcome to episode 7. Tomorrow night there's football, every
Woo.
channel, 32 teams, 16 games, 3 days. This week the league also handed out the first depth charts of the year and sell the starting quarterback job. So tonight's the last show before we stop guessing and start watching. I'm Ronald. I can't talk. That's Ryan.
I'm
Let's
right there
do
with you,
this.
man.
How's your week been?
It's been going great, man. Just really itching. Got so many drafts going on, and the draft orders are coming out, and I think everybody's just kind of buzzing right now. So obviously camp is going on, so not all good. There's plenty of guys like limping around out there. So that's
Already.
the worst part. But
Yeah, man. It's a violent game.
yeah, but it's good though, man. It's good to be back.
Yeah, let's see what we got here today. What we're gonna talk about. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at Washington. They signed one Mr. Diggs 1 year up to $12 million. Already practicing, paired with Terry Mack over there. Could be some interesting things happening. He's the single biggest riser in football right now, up 30 plus spots to around ADP 109. How you feeling about Diggs and that signing?
Yeah, I feel like everybody sort of expected it, but it was sort of like how the AJ Brown trade was going, where you're like, oh yeah, they said they're going to, but is it going to happen? And you want to wait for it to
Yeah,
be a definite. So now that it is, yeah, it feels like a really good spot. I mean, it's like a dream spot. I know he's like from around there, and they basically only had Terry. He's like going on 31, so they really needed a compliment. Antonio Williams is fine, but he's a rookie, so they're a team that wants to compete and win a lot of games. So I think Diggs makes a lot of sense for them, and I think from a fantasy standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. Like I think managers are really happy. Best case scenario, because he's out there running around like he hasn't aged too much for sure, man. He looks
yeah.
good out there running routes.
Young spring chicken.
Yeah, yeah, you
Yeah.
wouldn't know he's starting to age, but yeah, he looks good, man. He's still a dog, and people forget, he's Mr. Consistent, coming off 1,000 yards last year, and been looking really good. I don't see why he can't be a contributor at the very least, a weekly flex option.
Yeah, for sure. I have this conversation with my baseball friends a lot, where there's just some organizations who are just so great at finding undervalued, high floor, reputable players who somehow the league has kind of fallen asleep on, and they built a ton of success around that. But same thing with football. I mean, Diggs is not, 23. You're not getting him for 8 years, like a Justin Jefferson type. But to have him that experience for 1 year, $12 million, it's like, man, why didn't my Cowboys go get him? I mean, they don't need him. We're great, best team in the league. Thank you very much. But
Right?
still, a lot of teams could have
Pretty
used that
good.
type, and it's interesting to see how this all plays out. But sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. So Washington, I think, won on the dig side, but we can't have nice things. So Laramie Tunsil, Saturday against Odafe Owe and some one-on-ones, tore a triceps, expected to miss the most of the season. The left tackle, five-time Pro Bowler. We've got Jaden Daniels, who missed 10 games last season,
Bingo.
sprained left knee, strained right hamstring, dislocated elbow. Tunsil was the protection. And that was with Tunsil there that he still got beat up a
Yep.
little bit, and now
Yep.
Tunsil's gone. So how you feeling about how that affects Jaden, Terry Mack, Diggs now, the whole Washington offense?
I think for sure I'm mostly going to be nervous if I'm a Jaden Daniels owner, because I think Tunsil is one of the very best pass blocking tackles in the entire league in terms of how he's graded like year after year. So he's been super super good lately, and yeah, Jaden's one of those guys. You better keep him clean, because if he's
Yeah,
not kept clean, you know what happens. He can very easily go down. He's just got that build, super long and lean, and he's very athletic and takes off, and man, he's a weapon. But you just gotta kind of hold your breath, and I think this is kind of a situation where it's like a worst nightmare, because you really need those tackles. They get paid big bucks because they deserve big bucks. If they can keep you clean, that's the deal, man. That's why you pay him. So yeah, without him, and that severe of an injury at this state, in this stage of his career, man, it's a brutal injury to come back from. I know the surgery and then the rehab and all that is serious business. So yeah, I worry about Daniels. I think Diggs gets open quickly. I think both of those guys should still be able to have some success, and I think they might have to kind of like tweak the offense a little bit so that some of the longer developing plays, maybe aren't hit quite as often because you're going to be like, putting Daniels at risk a little bit if you've got a weak link over there blocking. But yeah, I still like the receivers a little bit. I think that they're savvy enough to make it work and get open quickly. And but for Daniels, yeah, I mean it definitely sucks. He's going to have to adjust too. He can't be getting too cute back there. It's got to be on time. It's got to be in rhythm.
Quick,
And
3 seconds.
he can't be messing.
Yeah. I mean, did Washington just become the most interesting team in the league right now? And not interesting because maybe the potential, but just all the things happening with their offense. Because another one for you, we got Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt pushing towards every down work. Lead back on early downs ahead of Rachaad White now, which I think, some of us thought that Rachaad White was going to come in there and, get most of the touches, but that's kind of turning the other way. Last year, the 7th-round pick, Merritt led the team with 805 rushing yards. So, it's interesting to see that between now Tunsil and Diggs and Terry Mack and Jaden and now Merritt, the offense is doing a lot of movement. Is that going to be good for fantasy, good for the team, or how you feeling about that piece?
That's one of those teams that I was sort of avoiding, that running back room. Specifically, I was avoiding Rachaad White, because he's kind of getting to that point where over the course of his career at Arizona State, and then again, for the Bucs, he was never efficient on early downs or any rushing situations. He always had.
His mom is listening. You better talk nice about him.
hey, there's a good upside here. He's a pass catching savant. He runs routes and catches balls as well as just about any running back in the league. So he's a very good pass catching specialist. But I think, especially at this point in his career, I think that's probably what he brings for that team. And I think that he's a very good safety valve, for a guy like Daniels, who's probably going to be a little bit under duress now that we've kind of mentioned, the Tunsil injury. So I still like Rachaad White a little bit, in PPR leagues. I think he has some value. But I think it was always going to be, Bill probably taking the good majority of the early down work, and especially early in the season. And then Katron Allen is a guy to watch for to take early down work, and specifically goal line, short yardage work, I would think would be Katron Allen probably out of the gate. I've got to imagine he's the only one who's got that build, and he's kind of able to handle that load, and just being a battering ram, that's like what he does best. So I would expect it to be a little bit of a murky situation, but Bill is a good guy to get if you can get him late, because he's the one that does have the home run ability, so he doesn't need quite as many touches to make an impact. We saw last year, late in the year, where he had that big game, busted a couple long touchdown runs, and so I think he's capable of doing that, and I think he's going to be probably pretty volatile. If I had to guess, I would say he's going to be hit or miss, week to week. But he's certainly going to have booms, and he'll have those busts. But it's not a backfield that I'm specifically targeting. And if I am, it probably would be Bill late or Katron Allen late, because Rachaad, like you said, kind of got a little pumped up there in the ADP, going whatever in the 9th or 10th round or something. So yeah, that's way too rich for my blood. I'm not really interested in that. I would rather wait and take, I'm sure Bill's going up a little bit now, but Bill, and then to a lesser extent, maybe take a flyer on Katron, because he's going to be getting those short yardage touchdowns. So he might have his fair share of decent games too, man.
Num, 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 num.
Yeah, exactly.
Those touchdowns, yeah.
That'll Algier roll there.
Yeah. First depth charts are out, and they're not what people think. So every team dropped a first unofficial depth chart this week. Actually, you know what? I want to circle back around to something you just made me think of. With some of the importance of these interconnected pieces. It's funny that the board moved 33 spots on Diggs at receiver, but it barely moved, factoring in the tackle they lost, right, on Daniels and some of the run game.
Mm-hmm.
So fantasy managers, we tend to price skill position additions instantly, but we almost never factor in offensive line subtractions, right?
Yep.
And that gap is the player's edge, So like Ryan was saying with some of this stuff, there's a bigger impact to the team and the points. And so we got to take some of this extra context in, and that extra bit of information is what wins folks leagues.
Yeah, exactly. You hit the nail on the head, man. I think everybody loves to get super excited and just get in that dream state where you're kind of putting together all the big plays that are going to happen, and something like this happens, and it puts a little cold water, and people just aren't feeling it yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so hang in there. All right, going back to the depth charts. So unofficial depth charts came out this week. These are typically assembled by team PR staffs, not coaching staffs. Final cuts are due August 30th, so got some time. But some, semi-interesting things that we found from this public release. So with Miami, they're listing Malik Washington as a starting receiver, plus the primary kick returner and primary punt returner.
Yep, you're
We've got rookie Caleb Douglas and the other starter. And Seattle listing George Holani as a starter, Jadarian Price as backup. Price has missed the last 2 practices with some lower body soreness, but all of it's minor, matter of days, so hopefully no big deal there. Got Cleveland, can't make things easy or simple, listing 2 co-stars at QB. We got 3 rookies starting with the offense. So how you feeling about some of that news, any of that?
So, it's always the first unofficial depth chart, I feel like, is always so disappointing for people that kind of believe in younger players and rookies. So to see Jadarian Price there isn't necessarily a surprise for me, because in the past, it's very common for teams like that, just out of respect for veterans, to kind of like the very first one, you kind of have that vet there, and it probably didn't help that he missed those last few days, but I know he was back in a limited capacity, I believe, today. Wasn't full speed, wasn't doing everything, but he was tearing up camp. From what I saw, he was roasting guys, just in the pass game and getting by guys in the run game, and everybody was sort of like, on the sidelines, like, whoa, man, this guy has real juice. So I think Holani is a fine compliment, but I don't know that, he's going to be a massive threat. I think that, that this is more out of respect than like actually them thinking that he's the best player at that position at this point. So I would expect that to change. And, the Cleveland situation, I know that they also did just decide that Watson is starting that first preseason game. Take that with a grain of salt too, man. It's still early on. They haven't played their first preseason games yet, most of these teams. So, I heard, I was reading something on there where they were like, well, they just didn't want Watson to play at home, which is like their second game or whatever, because he was probably going to get, maybe hear about it or something like that from the fans. But yeah, it's tough to know, man. Some of this is murky, especially that quarterback situation. Sounds like every other day is like, oh, you think you've got some good notes, you think you've got a good understanding of where it's going, and Shedur's playing good. Oh, he's strung together these days, and Watson started so slow, and then Watson balled out and had that big day, and it's just been kind of like really back and forth. So I'm curious to see how that shakes out, because they owe Watson the money, but Shedeur is the young guy that they want to see probably play before they have some valuable picks coming up in a really good quarterback draft. So curious to see how that shakes out, but hopefully either option can at least be competent, because they've got so many good players on offense for once.
For once.
for the first time in a while.
All the Bears fans coming after you, man. Better watch out.
Yeah, hey man, I'm a Raiders fan, so you already know. Whatever, I'll take mine too. You want to put it on me? I'll take mine too.
It's too easy. You can't beat a whip dog. It's no fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've heard it all, man. I'm numb.
It's okay. Well, speaking of the Bears, old Luther Burden landed awkwardly on a contested catch, out for the preseason. Going to be about a month, they're thinking. That said, the Bears do expect him for the September 13th opener at Carolina. And other injury news, we'll come back and hit on some of these. Mr. Pacheco, MCL sprain, no injury's ever good. It's a sprain, which I guess is better than a tear. But he's expected back week 1, so maybe there's no games missed, but you got to wonder, does that affect the touches, the time, the fantasy points, what we care about? Got Philadelphia, a bunch of folks dealing with some hamstring issues. 5 of them, DeMonta Smith included in that. Rookie Mekhi Lemons missed 4 straight. They're hoping none of this is long term, but man, those injuries come in bunches.
Yeah.
What else we got here? Actually, we'll come back to the last one I want to talk about. But yeah, how you feeling about some of those injury things popping up?
Man, I'm not going to lie to you. It was a little devastating to see. That whole morning I was tracking that Burden situation so closely, because I've invested greatly, in dynasty shares and everything else, and I've been sticking my neck out to make sure everybody knows that he's an excellent player. And he was having such a good camp. He was literally just buzzing, man. He was buzzing, just climbing boards in a hurry, making plays every single day, unbelievable contested catches, just burning guys, like doing everything that I knew that he would do. And then that fluky play where Stevenson got up and kind of they landed awkwardly, and Burden kind of planted, and you knew that it was a little funky, but I'm actually a little bit optimistic because I did see him, the following day, or it was like, I think it was like 24 or 48 hours, whatever, one of the next 2 days. He was on the sidelines walking around, no limp, was not walking gingerly. Obviously, he's not running and cutting, but it's very promising that, a day or two later, he's walking around, smiling, laughing, going and signing things for fans and stuff. So I feel pretty confident that he should easily be back week 1. Now there is obviously you don't want anybody getting soft tissue injuries in the preseason. We all know that can kind of, climb back into the fold. So not ideal, but I do feel very confident. He's a dog, and if he's one of those guys where, like, I'll say this, like, he's always been a dog. You got to drag him off the field. He wants to be out there. He wants to compete. So I'll bet on those guys, the Amon-Ra's and those kind of guys that really will be like, no, look, I'm out here. I'm good. Amon-Ra was playing through like a torn up groin last year. Was hanging on by a thread. He's like, I'm in. I'm cool. We're chilling. He'll produce. So I feel the same way about Burden. Obviously, it's not ideal. It sucked big time to see that, and I was like, ooh, boy, preseason's tough sometimes, but he's okay. It was reassuring to see him walk in. Pacheco, though, on the other hand, man, that's a tough one. He's at in a new building, in a new home, and really is going to miss these reps. This is going to be important reps for him. And I saw Kai Robichaux, who's like an undrafted free agent from BC that they had a year ago, who's just bulldozing dudes. So yeah, there's going to be other guys behind Gibbs that are making an impression when that really should have been Pacheco. So yeah, that could, at the very least, it probably gets rid of any potential opportunity for him to have any sort of that Monty role where you're like, maybe he'll have his own flex, valuable, like he's not going to be that guy, I don't think. Missing all this time, it's going to be, if anything, it might favor Gibbs. Might be more action for Gibbs. And then just lastly, that Philly one, it's crazy because Mekhi Lemon has essentially missed this whole offseason program. He hasn't been practicing at all like he did, and then he got hurt, and then he tried a little bit, and then I think he got hurt again, aggravated, I believe, the same hammy. So, and now he's been out again, and obviously he's a rookie too, so he needed that time. And you got a guy stepping up to the plate behind him now. A guy who's a really good sleeper is Dontavian Wicks, and he's been balling in camp. So yeah, Lemon is on the downward, and man, Wicks is on the come up in my opinion. He's a good player too.
Yeah, like you said, you hate to see some of those soft tissue injuries this early. But, we wish the players well in real life, but as fantasy players, we're talking about commodities, assets, value, and prices. So while the injury sucks, hopefully this creates an opening in the market. Don't give up on them, right? But use this as a reason to get them at a cheaper price because the market's going to be down on them. So maybe now you invest more heavily because you're going to get him, 3, 4, 5 rounds later. If he's healthy and hits, massive profit. If he's not healthy and he's a bust, he didn't cost you a top, 6th, 7th, 8th round pick. Yep. Who the hell cares?
Exactly, for sure.
So let's what else we got here? Oh man, got some legal things to discuss. Never fun when it comes to fantasy and legal stuff because things can be unpredictable because it's not an injury. Things are kind of out of in the powers that be hand.
Yeah, and they can change quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
Can change everything.
Mm-hmm. So we got Rashee Rice. Ian Rappaport reported today that the NFL is not expected to hand down additional punishment following his probation violation. They said he was already disciplined for the underlying event when he served the suspension.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a report, not a ruling. So we're hoping that sticks and that there's no punishment. Same thing with Josh Jacobs. Talked about this about a week ago. Nothing much has changed. He hasn't been charged. The Brown County DA said in July the investigation is still open. They're denying allegations through counsel. It's a separate ongoing league review. We're not going to speculate, but what we're worried about is the fantasy implication, which, kind of surprisingly, I mean, who the hell knows what's going to happen in the court of public appeal and the legal system? But the fantasy market on these players hasn't really moved much. Even with Jacobs, having a growing injury, while not serious, he's already dealing with some nagging stuff in addition to the possible legal stuff, but he's only fallen about 3 spots. So the market doesn't really care, it seems. So it's, while I like the player and I've owned him on a bunch of past seasons, I think I'm staying away from both Rice and Jacobs. How you feeling?
I think just everything is so gloom and doom, and I was saying this, when everything looked so bad for Rice there, where, we had the knee cleanup and everybody was so worried about all of this stuff, and he was, Obviously the legal stuff was catching up with him, and I was saying, hey, that's a good opportunity to buy in Dynasty. That's a good opportunity to buy. Make sure you throw some flyers. Make sure you make some trade offers. I was actually able to get a share or two, so I'm actually really grateful for that downtime and the gloom and doom, and kind of the same thing happened with Neighbors with his injury and all this other stuff. So you capitalize on that stuff, and now look where he is. It looks like rumored to be no suspension. He's in practice. His knee cleanup is going okay, and Mahomes is practicing too, and it looks like they're all ready for week 1. And so if this is all behind him, obviously you don't know what the future holds in terms of decision making and those things, but man, oh man, if he's good to go and he's out there week 1, what an absolute steal for anybody that was able to get their hands on him when people were feeling down. Definitely smelling roses right now. Rice is looking up right now. If that's the case, man, he's a heck of a steal in the 3rd round as an absolute target hog and a good offense. Sign me up, man. Sign me up for some risk.
Let me look at this up. Let me check my Fantasy Boss draft kit to see how we feel about.
Yes, sir. That thing looks good. The whole
Let's
app looks
here.
Beautiful, you guys.
Who are we talking about?
Rice.
Got me. Rice. There we go. Got me distracted here. Let me just search for his name.
It's on RBs, I think.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Let's see what the expert says. Knee cleanup, overblown, always off the field risk, but when he's right, it's productive any other player. Okay, so we're sitting a little higher than average on the point projection. So average draft pick is around 27. We've got him in 17. Yeah, I think you're right. There's definitely a difference in what the market is thinking is going to happen versus what the experts know are going to happen. So go grab your Fantasy Boss draft kit created by One High Society. It's free, but yeah, this is a good take-in. It's like takes like this, picks like this, or what win leagues.
Exactly. And you're looking at it, and Drake London is picked right around the turn, that 1st and 2nd round turn, and he's got so many other issues too. And then you get to that point where you're like, hey, man, Rice goes at like 3-1, but you take in London at like 13, 14, 15, and man, his situation is just lacking. If I had to say, I think Rice has the upside advantage, over a guy like London for sure. So, I would feel comfortable taking him in the 2nd round for sure. I think as an absolute target hog, man, sign me up for some Rice for sure. I think he's going to have a heck of a good year.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was just looking at some of the expert ranking versus the average draft pick, and you're spot on. The market's taking him around pick 30, whereas the experts, around 17. And London's great, and the market's taking him at 15. But like you said, there's other factors in that situation. It's like, maybe he is going to end up production-wise behind Rice towards the end of the year.
Yep, 100%. I would definitely take Rice over London at this point. I know that's probably a hot take, but I think it's already starting to look a little bit better. Obviously he's got the QB concerns. Stefanski's not a wide receiver-friendly play caller. In the past it's been tight ends and it's been running backs that get heavy usage. So, yeah, I love London as a player. Really not feeling his situation. So I think Rice is in a much better spot, and he's a good player in a contract year. So, man, he should ball out.
And their schedule is not the greatest for the first handful of weeks there.
Right, yeah. Carolina's tough. Pittsburgh's tough. Green Bay's got, good defense. New Orleans has improved. Yeah, I mean, I would be a little worried about Atlanta's passing attack for sure. So I've been fading London, and I've been bullish a little bit on Reishi. So that's one of my guys. Buka's one of my guys. Neighbors, I've got him up a little ways. So I'm comfortable. I was really on the Neighbors and the Rice news. So yeah, they're both trending up. So I feel pretty good about that.
Well, speaking of Ibuka, how you feeling about the latest news?
Yeah, it's so tough, man, to get the actual scoop. I'm hoping he's okay. I got that alert, the notification, and I was like looking on Twitter, and I was just trying to get any sort of insight.
Save me!
Yeah, I was like, please, God, burn and Ibuka. I'm like, my feelings are hurt, man. My feelings are hurt on this. But yeah, I heard he was just getting worked out kind of on the table there, and it didn't seem too severe from what I've read. Obviously I'll get back into it, and I'll probably check daily until I get some real sort of insight. So I don't feel too bad about it. I know they were kind of working on him, so if it was severe, he probably would have gone back and had whatever kind of they would have checked him out, in depth and everything. So I don't feel bad now, but obviously we have to see how it plays out. Hopefully it's okay.
Well, speaking of how things are going to play out, Minnesota named a starter maybe a bit early, and I guess it's no surprise given the signing, but they named one Kyler Murray. No surprise there. And it's. I mean, I don't know if I feel bad for Justin Jefferson and some of the players because they're making millions of dollars, and
Right.
great for them. But
Bingo.
also, man, they've now had four different Week One starters in 4 years, right? And it's like, man, and they went from Cousins to Darnold, which two great quarterbacks. They got a lot of value there.
Did well there,
Then
yeah.
yeah, McCarthy, young guy coming in, and I never understand NFL teams. They invest such high draft capital and then don't want to give them 10 games, 6 games to go figure out before they kick him to the curb. Because now they brought in Kyler, who's going to be there what, a year,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
And then
most
they're
likely.
probably going to go back to McCarthy. But either way, it's like four quarterbacks in 4 years. What the hell is this going on here?
It's
But
messy.
yeah, hopefully, while Kyler's not the quarterback with the highest upside in the league, maybe he takes that Tua approach from Miami from a few years ago. Gets out of there quick, gets the ball out of his hands, gets it to Jefferson and Addison, and maybe do some things. But who knows, man? But how you feeling about them naming a starter and that starter being Murray?
Yeah, just real quick, man. It's tough. It's tough to draft a quarterback high, and when you're on a team that wants to win now. So I think that they put McCarthy in sort of a losing situation from the jump. Based on yeah, I think it all came back down to Sam Darnold. Just real quick, I think that it was give Darnold another year. He had a really good run there, man, and
Yeah,
they could have brought him back and let
they should have
McCarthy.
run.
They should have let McCarthy marinate a little bit longer. Obviously, he was a raw prospect coming out, live arm, good mobility, but not great touch. Doesn't layer the ball well. Doesn't process well enough. So he needed time. And I don't know if the league gives up on him yet, but he's got some work to do. But yeah, so not all his fault. Kind of the situation. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, getting back to Murray, I think that he's got potential to do well himself. Like he's got a high ceiling because of that rushing ability. I just don't think it's a good scheme fit, and I do worry about his hookup with Jefferson and those guys that are running those crossers. I think I already kind of alluded to maybe last week. He's been hooking up with Addison a little bit. Addison gets loose down the field, and Jefferson gets that attention on the digs and the crossers and all that stuff, where he's just nasty at running those intermediate routes. So it remains to be seen. That's not exactly Murray's strength. He likes to get out and roll out of the pocket and make the big play down the
Rolled
field.
out. Sorry.
Roll out, my homies. Yeah. But yeah, I think that Addison will be a good value. He looks like he's healthy and back to practicing. Um, yeah, I'm a little bit worried about Jefferson at his ADP. I don't think it's the best fit there. I love Jefferson as a player. Don't
Yeah.
ever, nobody ever, take this as like a slight at Jefferson, because I love him as a teammate, as a player, as all of that stuff. Like he's been just an absolute like golden soul. He's never stopped working, and just is a great guy, man. Just an unbelievable teammate. So Vikings fans and the team and everybody's so lucky to have a guy like Jay Jettas there, man. He's a legend. So good on you, Jettas, for being a good dude. Obviously, it's not the best situation, but I hope
Get
it
him out of
works
there.
out. Hope it works out. I just don't know if I love the fit, because Kyler's not that kind of guy that likes that rhythm passing and getting it out quick and boom, like pocket. Like he loves to leave the pocket. So we'll see how that works
Yeah.
for them.
Free that man.
Yeah, dude, please, man, get this guy a good chance to win games and produce, because he deserves it, man. He's still up there with Chase. Those are the best two in the league. Like you can argue with the wall, because you just watch the tape, man. Those guys are so good. Jefferson is just the best route runner in the league.
Yeah, and they're in a unique situation where maybe some teams who aren't doing that well only have one great receiver, and they're hesitant to let them go. But I mean, you've got Addison's a super capable dude to have beside him, and you let Jefferson go, let Addison shine, a la T. Higgins for a bit, or no, who I'm thinking of, Boyd.
Yeah, Tyler Boyd there.
Yeah, for and it's like, yeah, you don't need to have, especially if you're not gonna. And that's the weird thing is like they were good with Darnold and Cousins, but
Yeah,
if they were trying to win the following year, they would have re-signed Sam,
yep,
right?
bingo.
And even if they would have re-signed Sam, they just probably weren't gonna. Anything can happen any given year, but they weren't Super Bowl favorites. So it's like signing the young kid, letting him play, should have been a signal that you weren't trying to win this year. So give him some room to spread his wings.
Exactly.
But, we'll see.
He was due to struggle, man, and he
For
was in
sure.
a tough spot.
League runs at a different speed.
Exactly, man. So you feel for all those guys, but yeah, especially Jay Jettas. Love that dude, man.
Yeah. Let's see what we got here. How many drafts you got this weekend? It's about to be heavy draft season.
I got a good redraft coming up, and then I've got a dynasty coming up, or a keeper league coming up actually that I'm doing for the first year this year. That my buddy invited me to. So yeah, I got two that are coming up actually. I did the draft order for my my old Yahoo draft today. As a matter of fact, just found out I'm picking 11th. So
nice. Very excited. I'm going to be studying the draft board and arranging the order of the players and stuff. But yeah, I'm excited. It's draft season.
Looks clean, dude. That thing looks good.
Yeah, it's come a long way. So folks that need a new drafting home or want to come do some mock drafts, hopefully the recent updates we've made make this easier and more fun for you. But if you've got any, questions, concern, feedback, things you want to see, we're all about it. We're trying to make this the platform of today and, the future. Let us know what's needed.
Exactly. Yeah. Hop on there. Check it out. Let us know. We love all feedback. But, man, we have tried to make this thing beautiful, and I think it's looking really good. So just want to get some eyes on it, man. Feel free. Hop in. Give us that feedback, man.
Oh, yeah, I meant to show you this. Do this live on here. So after getting some feedback around how people can view their, the draft, and let me pause this so you can turn the sound off. How do you feel about showing, instead of a list of players that are being drafted, showing a player card?
Love it. Yeah, I think that's great. That's better than a list to me. Obviously it's more visually appealing, I feel like, So yeah, it looks clean. Everything looks so clean. Every single thing about it. I love the drafting in here. So and then obviously after the draft, everything looks great, man. You got this thing worked out beautifully. So kudos to you, and looking forward to a lot of people enjoying it.
And then when you're drafting, do you normally look at the results in the order in which they're picked, or do you normally look at the team to see, which team needs what position to get a feel for what you're going to do that way?
So I look at the big board normally. At a certain point, I will reference to my team, and I will just look over my team. In general, I'm not looking at other people's teams and their rosters and the way they're building. I'm solely focused on, who's going, who do I have where, and let me look at my team to figure out exactly what piece I think I need to fit. And if the value looks right to me with the players on the board, I can hit, address that position. And or hey, maybe I'll hit this other position, wait because I like value later at that position or something like that. So I like to play with it that way.
Actually, well, I'm in this mock draft one of your favorite dudes there.
Raiders, yeah.
Yeah, so this was some feedback somebody had provided us. And it's yeah, great. Thanks. Keep it coming. We love, getting this stuff just right to make it easier to use for everybody. So I'm excited to, after years of getting this stuff put together, being able to do some heavy drafting on our own platform. So
looks great, man.
Stuff.
Yeah, it's a really good looking app, and it's just getting started. So only going up from here, but just so promising right now. I really love it. It's visually appealing. Everything's clean about it, and it's very unique. It separates itself from I think everyone else.
Yeah, and we're glad to make this about the community. So yeah, hit us up. Any parting words for folks?
Yeah, just make sure to get your hands on that draft kit, like we were kind of going over there. Just so many good little notes where, I've done so much research and I really tried to drive home, certain points and just kind of stick my neck out there for guys and the things I believe. So get in there, at the very least, chew on some of that because I think it's good to get so many different opinions on it. So yeah, get in there, get the draft kit, check out Fantasy Boss because all the updates are really clean and beautiful, and it's a good app, man, and good guy running it. So yeah, absolutely get up in it and track practice every day, man. Know what's going on. Get the ins and the outs, and if you are missing something, hit us up. We're here.
Look at that face. There you go.
Yeah, we're having a good old time, buddy.
Yeah. I don't even need an outro. That face is my outro. Catch y'all next episode.
Yeah, peace, man. Have a good night, everybody. Appreciate you.